I gave him an ultimatum, either an open marriage or divorce. I caught my husband of 12 years cheating on me. I do know the girl because she is a part-time cashier at the local grocery store. He has been spending a lot of money on her. I got the proof and confronted his ass. He did what most cheaters do, deny and gaslight. When he couldn't make up more lies, he finally caved and started with his big man tears of "Don't leave me, baby. I swear I will change." I gave him options. Either we open our marriage and keep our home and keep our children and they will grow up in a house and not shift every weekend. You can keep your side chicks as long as you do not bring them into our home. We will have set up rules and boundaries. I laid out all the boundaries and conditions. 1. He cannot spend money from our joint account. He can spend money from his personal expenses, however, in case of emergency, he will put his family above his side chicks. 2. Never bring them home or into our space where we have our kids. 3. No family members or friends. 4. Always use protection and regular STD checkups. 5. We will tell each other about the dates and when are we going, who are we with. We do not have to share pictures of our partners. 6. If he gets a woman pregnant, it's the end, and if I get pregnant by another man, I will either get an abortion or put the kid to adoption, or if the father agrees he can keep the baby and I will sign away my rights, and yes, he is more than welcome to divorce me and I will not push him for child support for another man's child. Or we will get a divorce. We will split everything evenly. The house is in my name, so I will keep the house. We will only contact through parenting app. No bad mouthing to our kids. If our kids want to know the truth later in life, we will tell them. We will have a healthy co-parenting relationship. He can have as many girlfriends as he wants, but he shouldn't force our children to accept them. It's for our kids to decide. I gave him 48 hours. 12 hours is left. We will see what he decides. If he cannot, then I will make the decision for both of us. My decision is divorce. Update. Well, I gave the verdict before 12 hours was up because I knew he will not choose any of the option and rather gaslight me. I gave him 48 hours. He couldn't decide. He still wanted to talk and see if we can work things out. I told him to pack his stuff and get out. He begged and pleaded. I stood firm. He said if several couples make it work and whatnot, but I'm not a doormat who will waste several years of her life building a foundation that was already broken. I have contacted my lawyer. I will serve him within this week. I already had the divorce papers ready, but I didn't serve him because I gave him the option of what it is going to be. Soon, our family will know, and I will not hear anyone who says to give him a chance. I did and he failed. I don't believe in cheating makes relationships stronger crap like that one guy in my comments told me. I know I cannot even look at him the same way. I am done being weak and making excuses for him. That's it. I am sitting in my empty house. My kids are with my mother. I don't know where he is or what he is doing. I guess I knew this would have been the ultimate fate of my marriage even if we choose open relationship. But I guess I didn't want my kids to come from a broken home. But then again, my kids would have lost it anyways. My mother forgave my dad and he never cheated, but I knew that in the back of her mind she still had suspicion that my dad was cheating. She never fully trusted him, no matter how much she said they are okay, and after the incident their love was stronger. No matter how much she was praised for being a strong woman for giving her husband a second chance, I knew she wasn't fully trusting my father. He didn't know it, but people around them knew. And she sighed a relief when he died. It just meant she doesn't have to pretend anymore. Sorry, I am just rambling. I am a mess right now. I am just coping by posting on Reddit and talking to internet strangers. The point is I don't want to live like my mother worrying where he is, if he is really going to work or not. Being a cell guard in my own marriage, I won't lie, when I told him I will get a divorce, I felt lighter, as if a weight has been lifted. Edit. I discovered my husband was cheating on me few months ago. It took me some time to gather evidence and get all my things aligned along with a divorce lawyer. He cheated on me 7 years ago while I was pregnant. I forgave him. We tried to make it work. Things were almost fine. I know things will not be the same as it used to be, but it was good. The second time I caught him, I was 100% done. I tried everything and sacrificed a lot, and it was all in vain. I confronted him 10 days ago and he did what all cheaters do: deny, manipulate and gaslight. He moved out of our house and is living with his parents. He has been calling non-stop. His last message he told me he broke up with his AP. But honestly, what is the point now? His mother called and said she was sorry and asked if there is a way I can forgive him and try to work things out. I told her absolutely not. I already gave him a chance and he blew it. She was upset but didn't push the matter. The kids are staying with my mom and stepdad. I have been in contact with my lawyer. I did cry the first day when he moved out, but haven't cried since. I went to the mall, got some good quality makeup, went to the gym, went to the library to read in peace. I did make an appointment with my therapist, but mostly I have been binge-watching shows like Criminal Minds, Law and Order. I don't know why I should feel sad, but I do not feel sad at all. Can someone explain this to me? Glad she eventually went for a clean break with the divorce. I think some of the initial criticisms were harsh. It's beyond devastating to find out your partner is cheating a second time after forgiving them the first time. I don't blame her for thinking irrationally and vindictively. That husband though, what an idiot. That was the first story and now we are going to listen today's second story. Last week my 27F, Fyong 29M, we all call him Mason, broke up with me because I told him that I didn't want to leave my job and move across the country so he could be a streamer. I make very good money here in Minneapolis, my family is here, and I love the scenery of the area outside the city of course. My ex was basically a stay-at-home boyfriend. He worked only 20 hours a week as a barista at the Starbucks that is literally a 5-minute walk from our apartment. I work as an ICU nurse and I make good money, so I was never worried about our financials. What worried me was that, despite Mason having a biology degree, he was never able to get a full-time biology job. I think he was never even looking in the first place. I told Mason that I would be happy to help him pay for the master's PhD program he was supposedly interested in doing, but he never put in the work to do any research into it or apply. Instead, he was obsessed with the idea of becoming a streamer and moving to LA. But Mason never had time to stream or work on building a social media presence. He has literally 2 followers on Twitch and the last time he streamed was a year ago. I paid for everything, the apartment, our groceries, his medication, his pet fish, all of our dates that I always planned. But despite working crazy hours I was always the one grocery shopping on my way home and cleaning the dishes and cooking and doing laundry. The only thing he would do consistently was clean his fish tank and turn on the Roomba. But sure, I have a problem when I tell him to stop piling the trash up 12 over the edge of the bin and actually take it out. And I have a problem when I told him that I was not going to leave my job and pay for us to move to LA and leave my entire family behind when he literally done nothing to make his own aspirations come true. Dude sits at home for 50 hours a week in his underwear eating Takis and playing video games that he is and even streaming and expects me to cook dinner as soon as I get home from the hospital. So we had a fight and he broke up with me. Genius move. So I cancelled the lease on my apartment and I staying with my sister while I go house hunting and deleting every trace of that idiot from my life. He tried calling and texting me, but I done with his leeching. I just wish other people could see through his carefully crafted lies because I have lost 2 friends who are just eating up his sob story. Can believe I such a mean girlfriend who won't be my man mommy. Update. So, a while ago I posted about my ex-Fyong Mason and I'm breaking up because he wanted to move to LA and be a streamer despite being lazy and having 2 followers on Twitch. Well, through a friend, I have learned of some shocking developments. For starters, Mason is moving to LA in September. So, I excited to go to our usual haunts and not have to worry about running into him anymore. But the second thing I learned confirmed that he was only using me as a meal ticket. 1 week after our breakup he came out as gay and officially started dating our mutual best friend, now my ex-best friend, who he always described as like a brother to him. I'll go ahead and say now that I have nothing against gay people. I'm happy for him and hopefully he can be with someone he has an actual chance of loving sincerely. But to say I didn't have suspicions of him cheating in the last few months of our relationship would be a lie. And now to know that he knew he was gay for a year before we broke up, and he was just riding on my paycheck while likely fucking his bro on the side. Good news, my STD tests all came back clean, though we hadn't had sex in several months before our breakup. Truthfully, I hope Mason can find peace and find what will motivate him. But it sucks that all of the struggle and strife of the last year could have been avoided if he had just been honest about his sexuality and actually stepped up to the plate and took responsibility for his own finances instead of expecting to be handed life on a silver platter. As for myself, I am closing on a house next week. I joined a local tennis league, and I have started dating again. Just enjoying myself and seeing what is out there. The house I'm buying will need a few renovations, which I'm excited about doing myself. Life is good, but weird sometimes, so I'm glad for her, like for real. She unloaded that leech and can move on with her life, but the title is a lie. I wouldn't consider any of this ruining his life. Now he gets to be out and rebound immediately and pursue his dream. That was the second story, and now we are going to listen to today's third story. I found out that my husband was planning to have an affair with a woman from his company that works for another branch. He visits that branch twice a year, and she visits his twice a year. They have been flirting for 6 months, and they were going to sleep together last Friday when she was here. I sent my husband a picture of me with new lingerie about an hour before her plane landed, and he was supposed to pick her up. He had already told me he was working late and then going out with his colleagues for drinks and not to wait for him. I wrote that I was his dessert after the lobster pasta I'm making. He loves lobster pasta. He was home within the hour. When we were together, he said he was glad he chose to come home instead of working. You mean? I should hope so. Yeah, I mean, of course, he said. I don't have the energy to confront him or tell him that I know. I don't want to hear excuses and apologies. The lease is in his name because I moved into his apartment when we got married, and we still haven't found our home that we saving for. So I don't need to worry about that. Our savings and joint accounts are easy to access and divide, and I can do that the day before leave. I have found a subcontract today on an apartment for 12 months. If I get picked, I can move October 1st already. Then I will serve him the papers and tell him the reason is that I'm bored with the relationship and I have fallen out of love. I think it better that way. Update 1. I have now signed the lease. It is a sublease with 12 months, then month to month afterwards until the owner can sell his apartment. I'm so happy that I have found it. I feel like I'm born again. I have felt nothing but pain and despair for weeks. Now I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I still resolute to just leave and not tell him the reason why. I think this is the only way I can cope with this pain without losing my mind or my dignity. Many asked how that would make me look. Honestly, I don't care. Those who love me unconditionally, and those who judge me, is their opinion really worth it? Update 2. I have been on high drive this weekend. No moving on Sundays, but I was fortunate to get the keys Thursday. I have been discreetly packing my clothes, and yesterday Friday the moving truck came and took all my stuff and my furniture that I bought to my new place. I changed my address to my parents because I don't want my husband to know my new address if he googled it. When I was in my new apartment, it looked gloomy and so tiny. I just broke down crying. Like I have postponed my tears, and now I could finally feel safe to be vulnerable. Around dinner, my husband started bombarding my phone because I left him a note that I was done with our marriage and filed for divorce. My plan was to never speak to him again, but today, after a million messages and missed calls, I folded and answered him. He was very confused and in total panic, but I just kept saying that I wasn't in love with him anymore and that I was bored in our marriage. He was confused and begged me to come home and explain. Then he started trying to find other solutions. Maybe I was bored with my job or with our apartment. Maybe we could move and start anew somewhere else. I could not hold my tongue and just said, yeah, maybe we can move to city where the other woman lives. That would be very convenient for you. He was silent for a second, then asked what I meant. You know, because the main office is there and you have better chances to advance in your career? Silent again. Then he said, listen, I don't care about my career now. I care about you. I love you and I can lose you. He will do anything to make me happy. I said the only thing was that he left me alone and understood that it is over, because the sooner he realized it was over the better. I hung up. I probably need a new phone number because I don't trust myself not answering him again. I was so disappointed in myself for talking to him when I decided I didn't. My parents-in-law have called and wanted an explanation, and I just said that I yes and in love anymore and wanted an out. They both confused. All in all, it is better than them knowing the real reasons. He'd rather have them confused than sorry for me, or worse, try to explain his behavior and ask me to forgive him. I way better this way. I don't think there a need for lawyers. We don't own anything together and we don't have children. I have already taken my half of the savings etc., and I never stood on the lease of his apartment. I see no reason to have lawyers. I already sent my divorce papers to court, and with or without his signature I will be divorced in 6 months if he signs to, in 1-2 years if he refuses to sign, and I submit a new application every 6 months. OP is really strong on handling this. I personally think OP should at least let the in-laws know, since OP not saying what's going on could potentially lead to some really bad things. But who knows really? Maybe it might not. I wish OP for the best. The lobster pasta recipe sounds delicious though. Never had a lobster pasta actually. Thanks for listening everyone. If you enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Red Relationships to never miss a future upload.